maybe Canada should become the 51st state. Prime Minister Trudeau nervously laughed, as did others at the table.
Well, it looks like Trump is calling for a 51st state, but it's not Puerto Rico. It looks like Trump is back to his old bullshit again, and he's not even back in the White House yet. He's already playing bully ball with our closest trade partners, Mexico and Canada, forcing Trudeau to make hasty plans to fly to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee, as Trump demands all lesser men do.
Come to King's Landing, bend the knee, or suffer the fate of all traitors.
Sheinbaum, on the other hand, only gave him a phone call.
Trump is now boasting that Mexico's president has agreed to stop migration through her country and close the Mexican border. She says that's not quite right.
President-elect Trump claims the meeting with Trudeau was very productive. Quote, "We discussed many important topics that will require both countries to work together to address, like the fentanyl and drug crisis that has decimated so many lives as a result of illegal immigration, fair trade deals that do not jeopardize American workers, and the massive trade deficit the U.S. has with Canada," Trump wrote on Truth Social. Truth Social. That's such a good name for a place for Trump to lie. First of all, 80% of all fentanyl is smuggled across the border through legal ports of entry by legal citizens. Second, trade deals with Mexico and Canada have drastically improved the lives of American workers. And third, the trade deficit with Canada is hardly massive, but we all know Trump isn't great with numbers. Trudeau, for his part, hasn't spoken much about the content of that conversation, just saying that it was an excellent conversation. So, who knows? Well, I guess we know, because a few days later, Fox News is reporting that Trump kind of put Trudeau in his place. In fact, Fox News found an anonymous source who describes a very specific scene, one in which Trump is something like the Godfather, and Trudeau is the whimpering wimping boy taking it on the chin.
"So I assume, my lord, you're here to bend the knee. Bend the knee, and I will name you Warden of the North."
President-elect Trump, while cordial and welcoming, was very direct when it came to what he wants from his counterpart to the north. Trump said to Trudeau, paraphrasing here, "Canada has failed on the U.S. border, allowing large amounts of drugs and people across that border, illegal immigrants from more than 70 countries." But President Trump was even more animated when it came to the U.S. trade deficit with Canada, that he put at more than $100 billion. He said if Canada can't fix those things, he will levy this 25% tariff on all Canadian goods on day one when he gets back in office. At which point, Prime Minister Trudeau says he can't do that because it'll kill the Canadian economy completely. And Trump asked, so your country can't survive unless it's ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion? Well, Trump said, maybe Canada should become the 51st state. Prime Minister Trudeau nervously laughed, as did others at the table, but Trump went on, saying, Prime Minister is a better title, but you could still be governor of the 51st state.
Before nibbling on crab cocktail and slurping down oysters, the issues of tariffs, border security, and trade deficits were front and center. According to two people at the table who heard the discussion, Trump, while cordial and welcoming, was very direct when it came to what he wants from his counterpart to the north. Paraphrasing the discussion, Trump told Trudeau that Canada has failed the U.S. border by allowing large amounts of drugs and people across the border, including illegal immigrants from over 70 different countries. And I guess by large amounts of drugs, Trump means 43 pounds. Sources say Trump became more animated when it came to the U.S. trade deficit with Canada, which he estimated to be more than $100 billion. The president-elect told the prime minister if Canada cannot fix the border issues and trade deficit, he will levy a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods on day one when he returns to office. Trudeau told Trump he cannot levy the tariff because it would kill the Canadian economy completely. Trump replied, asking, "So your country can't survive unless it's ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion? Trump then suggested to Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state, which caused the Prime Minister and others to laugh nervously, sources told Fox News. I don't know about you guys, but to me, this reads like fanfic. I mean, if it was true, Trump is joking about taking over your country, so I would hope the response isn't just a nervous laugh, especially after he made you grovel and beg not to impose tariffs on you.
I will fight for you. I will fight for the North. When you bend the knee.
Which Trudeau claims would completely crash the Canadian economy? That doesn't make much sense, does it? Especially when you look at the numbers. Like Trump stated, we're at a deficit with Canada, meaning we're their customers. We pay them more than they pay us. So forcing U.S. manufacturers to pay an extra 25% tariff on imports from Canada, when Canada is our second biggest importer, only after Mexico, seems like a pretty good way to force Canadians to find other customers. Doesn't exactly sound good for our economy, does it? Canada is our largest importer of oil and gas, so a 25% tariff would immediately be felt at the gas tank. Isn't that like the most important thing to Americans?
If you tax the type of oil that these refineries use, again, that is a tax that's going to be paid by airlines, by consumers who fill up with gasoline, by trucking companies who fill up with diesel, and it's going to apply to everything that comes out of a refinery, not just gasoline, not just diesel, not just jet fuel, but everything.
How could Trump actually think this is a good idea? Oh, wait, he doesn't. Because he doesn't actually have any plans on implementing the tariffs. I mean, look at what he did the first time. The last time he was in office, his tariffs were about as intimidating as his two sons.
You want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to...
When he threatened Mexico with a 5 to 10% tariff on imports if they didn't meet his demands on the border, it turns out that they had already agreed to meet those demands months earlier. So all Trump had to do was act like a big bully, and when they eventually did what they promised to do anyway, he acted like it was because of his behavior. Like he had done something. And when Mexico mobilizes their National Guard to the southern border like they said they were going to do anyway, Trump can take credit, claiming it was because he strong-armed them into submission. This is Trump's tactic, and I think it's the reason why he said that $100 billion deficit number. He didn't get the number wrong because he's an idiot, although yeah, he's an idiot.
Try to get to the truth, because often we would hear of these differing sort of statements from different world leaders, from what the president would say, from what the world leaders would say. And that was sort of the difficulty in covering Trump, but also made it a bit more, I guess, chaotic and exciting in certain ways.
He got the number wrong so that when he takes office, he can say, hey, look, the deficit's now $67 billion instead of $100 billion. I immediately saved the American people $33 billion just by being me. Go Trump. Ah, true artist of the deal. You know, there's a certain Austrian artist that I hear Trump is a big fan of. Maybe that's where he gets it from.
Trump's former wife, the late Ivana Trump, had told her lawyer that Donald Trump occasionally read from a book of Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, which he supposedly kept in a cabinet by his bed. And a friend of Trump told the magazine on the record that he had given Trump the book, saying he thought Trump would find it interesting. Now, Trump denied this, saying, quote, if I had these speeches, and I'm not saying that I do, I would never read them.
All rulers demand that people bend the knee. It's why they're rulers.